Welcome, Leavenworth citizens, to your City Commission special meeting and study session. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 7 p.m. and midnight and available for viewing on YouTube. Due to the restriction of social distancing and prohibition of gathering of 10 or more people to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, the City Commission meeting will not be open to the public. In accordance with Kansas Open Meetings Act, the meeting can be viewed live on Channel 2 and via Facebook Live. Questions on study session items will be read during the discussion on that topic, and questions were to be submitted to cwilliamson@firstcity.org no later than 6 p.m. today. And Ms. Williamson tells me that there have been no questions submitted. Just a final note, members of the public wishing to receive agenda notifications can contact the city clerk, cwilliamson@firstcity.org, to be added to the agenda email distribution list. Agendas are also available for viewing on the city website at www.leavenworthks.org. And today we have a special meeting, which I will ask for a motion on that in about 20 seconds. And then we have 3 agenda items for the study session: semi-annual report from the president of the University of St. Mary, semi-annual report from the Leavenworth Public Library Director, and a semi-annual report from the Executive Director of the Leavenworth County Development Corporation. So the first order of business is special meeting. So can I have a motion to open a special meeting?
Nancy Bowder, I move we open.
Mr. Mayor, this is Commissioner Preisinger. I move that we
Okay, can I have a motion from Commissioner Bowder and a second from Commissioner Preisinger? Is there any discussion of the motion? If not, begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And as the mayor, I vote aye. The ayes have it. The vote is 5-0. The motion carries. So we are now in a public hearing, and the resolution we are having a public hearing about is Resolution B 2247, Amended Citizen Participation Plan, Consolidated Plan, and Annual Action Plan. So we have now staff and citizen comments. Mr. Kramer?
If I could.
Mr. Mayor, this is Commissioner Preisinger. We have just opened the special meeting. We need a motion to open the public hearing. We're
Okay.
not in the public hearing.
All right,
yet.
got it. Okay,
And,
good. That's
I
fine.
will move that we open the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Commissioner Leonhard, I second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Any discussion? If not, we will begin voting with Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I vote aye as the mayor. The ayes have it. The vote is 5-0. The motion carries. So we have opened a public hearing. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Kramer.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I'll turn this item over to Julie Hurley, our Director of Planning and Community Development.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. The city, in our capacity as an entitlement community through the CDBG program, was awarded $201,489 through the recently passed CARES Act that Congress approved about a month ago, I believe. That money is being distributed to communities to help fight the effects of COVID-19. And so what we're doing tonight is we are amending our citizen participation plan for CDBG, amending our 5-year consolidated plan and our annual action plan to allow us to allocate those funds appropriately, since all 3 of those plans did not take into account the activities that we need to account for this particular activity. So Mary Dwyer is also on the line. She can fill in some details if we need her, but essentially what we're going to be doing is increasing our funding for public service agencies by $101,489, And we will be allocating $100,000 for a small business COVID relief program. Staff is currently, we have worked out some details of how those funds will specifically be allocated. We are currently still waiting on guidance from HUD as to how we can actually deploy those funds. So we can't actually get them out into the community just yet, but we are amending the plans right now so that we can be ready once that final direction comes down from HUD and we can get those out. So if you have any questions, I or Mary can try to answer those for you.
Any questions from the commissioners for Ms. Hurley or Ms. Dwyer?
Commissioner Leonhard, Julie, I have a question. How long will the process take once HUD gets back with you, I guess, for the individuals to get the money?
Well, we're hoping it can be fairly quick. For the service agencies, we're planning to basically utilize the same process that we already have in place for our typical CDBG funds. And so since that process is already in place, once those funds have been opened up and we've received the direction from HUD, we'll be able to get the word out to those service providers so that they can go ahead and start applying to use those funds. And then with the small business relief, Mary and I have been working with Taylor to get a process set up for having that program available to small businesses to apply for. So we're hopeful that as soon as we get final direction from HUD, we'll be able to get them turned around pretty quickly for folks.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Ms. Hurley, this is Mayor Griswold. The HUD office that we would receive this guidance from, is it a HUD office in Kansas City or is it all the way in DC that we'll receive the guidance from?
So we will get direction from our Kansas City HUD office. They have to wait to get it from the national office.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a trickle down type thing. They're waiting for guidance themselves. And our local office really doesn't have any answers to give us yet since they haven't gotten them themselves yet.
Well, I'm sure they're aware that the sooner the better in terms of the guidance, because I think that obviously the small businesses, those who are eligible and apply and are able to be granted some of these funds could benefit from these funds sooner than later. So hopefully we'll be hearing soon. But I understand the process, and I don't have any further questions. Any further questions from my fellow commissioners? If not, we will go to a motion. No, okay, yes. Are there any citizen comments for this particular public hearing on the proposal to amend Citizen Participation Plan, Consolidated Plan, and Annual Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant Funds?
No.
No. Okay. Then I think the next order of business is to close the public hearing. So I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Commissioner Wilson here.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Preisinger, I move that we close the public hearing.
Commissioner Wilson, I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any discussion of the motion? If not, we will begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonhard?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger? Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Am I coming through?
You did, you came through. Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I vote aye as the mayor. The ayes have it, the vote is 5-0. The motion carries, so we've closed the public hearing. The next order of business is to consider the resolution itself. Any further discussion of the resolution? Probably not, since we just, Ms. Williamson, we wouldn't ask for any?
Not necessarily, yeah.
Okay, all right, so then I am ready to accept or entertain a motion on this resolution B 2247.
Commissioner Leonhard?
I'm giving up.
Go ahead, Commissioner Leonhard.
Okay. Commissioner Leonhard, I move to approve the resolution B-2247, adopting and authorizing the amendment of the Citizen Participation Plan, Consolidated Plan, and Annual Action Plan 2019 to 2020, and the submission of the amended Consolidation Plan and the Annual Action Plan 2019 to 2020.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Wilson here.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, there's a motion and a second to adopt or modify the resolution B-2247, adopting and authorizing the amendment of the Citizen Participation Plan, Consolidated Plan, and Annual Action Plan 2019 through 2020, and the submission of the amended Consolidation Plan and the Annual Action Plan 2019 through 2020. We will begin voting with Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I vote aye as the mayor. The ayes have it. The vote is 5-0. The motion carries, and we've approved resolution B-2247.
I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead. Is that Commissioner
Did we close the
Bowder?
Public hearing?
Second? I thought we did. Didn't we close it? We did close the
Yes.
public hearing.
All right, okay. Never mind.
We did, Ms. Williamson, didn't we? Okay. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go to the first agenda item for our study session, and this is a semi-annual report. Oh, that's what Ms. Bowder was saying, I think. Okay.
She was asking to close the public hearing.
Oh,
Close the public hearing, now we have to close the special.
she was right. I'm sorry. You were right, Commissioner Bowder. So let me get back here.
We closed the public hearing, we
Right.
did that.
So we need to close
Now
the,
we need to close the special meeting.
okay, that's right.
Special meeting. Sorry, special meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to close the special meeting. I'm sorry. Can I have a motion to close the special meeting, please?
I move we close the special meeting.
Is there-
Commissioner Bowder.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Leonhard, I
Commissioner
second.
Preisinger, second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to close the special meeting, and we are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I vote aye as the mayor. The ayes have it. The vote is 5-0. The motion carries, so we've closed the special meeting. Now I think we can go to the study session and semi-annual report from the University of St. Mary, and I welcome the president of the University of St. Mary, Sister Diane. And good evening, Sister Diane.
Thank you. I come to you in these very strange times. Let's see, my camera is upside down. Let me turn my camera around. It's not nearly as good. I don't know why I did that, because it wasn't doing it before.
What do you think, Taylor? You want to, if we hear you fine. I mean, it'd be nice to see you, but you could also just, talk to us and we'll listen. And if we have any questions, we'll ask you. We have your space, but we don't see you, Sister Diane. There you are. There you go. Okay, we see you.
Yeah, our life at the University of St. Mary, like everyone else's, has been turned upside down. We were very lucky in the fact that this broke when our students were on spring break, so the majority of them were away from campus. And we immediately set up our incident response team. We were meeting with James Fickey from the Leavenworth County Health to make sure we are following protocol. Because we share a campus, we also were meeting with the Sisters of Charity and with the director of our Ross Hall, which is our nursing center. We pretty much cut all communication and travel back and forth at that point. And things developed very quickly where it went from, we think we're going to do this, to everything was remote. So within a week and a half, we had all of our classes remote. We extended spring break to give our faculty a chance to do that. And so we just finished out, we should graduate this Saturday. Today, I should have put all of our undergrads in our chapel. So we're also feeling the loss of all of our ritual. We have kept all of our faculty and staff employed. That's part of our value system. And so we took our athletic trainers and made them into success coaches. And so every student at the university had 2 success coaches checking on them. So if they didn't pass, they'd have to try very hard to run from the success coaches. We did send out about 20 computers to kids. We bought hotspots for students, doing everything we could to help ease their transition into this remote learning style, which was a bit of a challenge. Because we already teach online, we already had the platforms up. We already had quite a bit of technology in place. It was a matter of getting the rest of our faculty up to speed. So statistically, it looks very good. We have no more failing grades right now than we had this time last year. So I would consider that a success. We will graduate virtually. We went through variations of when we would graduate, thinking next fall, et cetera. And that doesn't seem possible. So we did a virtual graduation where we dressed up, set the stage, and we read every one of the names. So that will go out Saturday, and our students will graduate. We conferred degrees. So not quite what we wanted to do, not how we wanted to celebrate, but it's the safest way to celebrate.
Sure.
We have not had any cases of our students that we know of. We have not had any cases among our faculty either. So we feel very lucky and blessed with that, especially since our nurses are on the front line. Our nurse faculty also keep up their clinicals, so they are in the hospitals, in the ERs, on the floors. So at this point, we are in the mode of planning for next year. For us, our first scenario is we are on ground with students, with sports, and the sports are playing other teams. And then those scenarios go to, we have sports, but they can't play other teams. We have no sports, but we're on ground we're off to be remote again. So we really need to be on ground with sports playing. So we're working very hard to get there. Our incident command team is now a mitigation team, and we're working again with Leavenworth Public Health to say, how do we make this work? So we have taken any of our classes that were somewhat large. Large for us is 20, 25, and we're making very good use of our theater. So any class will be socially distanced. We will be clean between the classes. Our biggest challenge is the students who live in the residence halls and what the students do on Friday and Saturday night that I can't control. We would like to think that they all practice social distancing, but we know better. So we would love to have testing. We would love to be able to test everyone as they come back. That is probably the safest way for us to come back. So any help we could get in that, we are working with Leavenworth County Health, but any help we could get to do testing. When we're up and running, there's about 1,000 students running around St. Mary at various times. And in the midst of this, we have continued to go forward. So DPT, our doctorate in physical therapy, will start shortly. The athletic training starts in the summer, as does the accelerated nursing start. We have also started another new program, another new doctorate. We have a doctorate in education that will launch in the fall. And then our doctorate in occupational therapy will launch next spring. So we continue to build out our programs. And in 2 years, we'll have a Bachelor of Science in Social Work and then a Master's in Clinical Social Work coming online as well. So at this point, the university is closed to the public. We are working remotely. I'm here in one of our spare bedrooms. On campus, we have housekeepers who are sanitizing and some maintenance people to make sure that we don't have leaks and floods and We have buildings that are 150 years old, so they always have challenges and issues like that. But for the most part, we're remote. People are home, and we intend to stay that way for right now. We don't have any need to go back in. We are not taking live visits from our students, from prospective students. We're doing all that virtually. We're registering them virtually. So we're gonna, until things level off in Leavenworth and we stop seeing those numbers go up, we're just gonna stay put. All our administration is at home, our financial aid, our registrar, our business office. My job is to go in and check mail and water plants. So I'm gonna stop there before I go on and see if you have questions about what we're doing.
Commissioners, any questions for Sister Diane?
Sister Diane, this is Commissioner Leonhard. How many graduates did you have this year?
We would have had about 300. They all wouldn't have walked because we have students online and they don't always come. And then when we graduate, we usually have about 2,000 people on campus. So we knew that wasn't going to be possible.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Sister Diane, I was wondering when do classes resume, for the next academic year? Do they start sometime in August, the classes?
Yes. Our classes are set to start the 1st of September. If we have sports, the fall athletes come back August 8th. At this point, we have several scenarios about when to begin the school year, depending on what health expert tells us. We have scenarios that we would start classes earlier, and then we have scenarios where we would start classes later into the fall. And I'm a theologian by training, not an infectious disease specialist, so we keep listening to say what's the best thing to do.
Sure.
Because we think if we start earlier and it resurges in November, we have a better chance of getting more of the semester in. So we're watching and learning, and we have about 3 or 4 calendars, we have 3 or 4 budgets, all looking to say, how is this going to continue to unfold? So any advice you have for us, I would welcome that. Any insights you have, James Fickey at Leavenworth County Health has been very helpful to us as we continue to figure out how to do this. Because it's very important for us to have our kids back because they pay for an on-campus experience.
Yes.
So we want to do it safely.
I don't.
Sisters?
Go ahead, Commissioner Bowder. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad that the Ross Hall sisters and all the sisters are safe, and we hope you continue to be and take care of yourselves. It sounds good. I'm so glad that you were able to close out the year with the students, and I have 5 of them living across the street from me, so I'm really happy for them. But I know it must be hard without having graduated there myself. I know it's got to be hard not to be able to graduate.
But we do a lot with ritual and ceremony, and we like to dress up right around, as you know. So it's part of what makes St. Mary St. Mary. So we miss that, but the safety of our community is our first concern. So I update the faculty and staff every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So we continue to gather as we can. We've all become little Zoom people. That's how we meet. And for the most part, it's worked for us. But it's been a challenge. We did apply for and get the small business loan. And because we've kept all of our people employed, we should be able to turn that into a grant. What looks challenging for us is next fall. We have students that want to come. Our admissions funnel looks strong. Our students want to return. It's the financial situation of their families that is going to be the biggest determinant for us. So we are at this point trying to raise money, or that's my job, so that we can help students close that gap so that they can continue.
Thank you, sister.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Diane, I'm sure all of us are thinking particularly of your seniors. To have this happen in their senior year, it's got to be very, very tough. So they're graduating, or in general, are their post-graduation plans, have they been scrambled? Are they having to adjust to the situation we have in our economy right now? Is that happening?
Yeah, they're definitely struggling. The ones who will be employed immediately are nurses,
Okay,
as soon as they take their licensing. But for the teachers are doing all right. Business people are the ones that are struggling more than any. They're the ones, and then we have some in criminology is doing fine, but the ones that are struggling are more the business kids. And then there's people don't want them to do internships, and so
Right.
we're losing them. All of our science graduates are placed either in medical school, dental school, or veterinary school. So all of our biology, chemistry majors are going on to further education.
okay, yeah. Well, just tell them from all the commissioners, from the city commission and the city manager and his staff, that we are thinking of them, particularly the seniors, wishing them well, and very best of luck going forward. And hopefully things are going to get brighter here as we go along in the next several months. But we're very proud of them, and just very proud of them. So are there any other questions or comments for Sister Diane? Sister Diane, I'm not sure we have any advice for you. I don't think we do. We've been having to adapt and adjust here within the city in terms of the delivery of our services, just beginning with that and extending to just about everything that the city does. But if there's anything the city commissioner or the city manager and his staff can do for University of St. Mary going forward, particularly over the next weeks and months, please let us know.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And anything we can do together about testing, or any help we can provide, or we can do that as a larger community, that would be very helpful.
Okay, very good. I understand, and we will take that note. And I know that the city manager is often, almost daily, on the phone with our Leavenworth County public health people, and we usually talk about it in one way, shape, or form every Wednesday when we have a Facebook Live town hall. But Sister Diane, thank you very much. It's good to see you.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay. Good evening. So now we're going to have a semi-annual report from the Leavenworth Public Library Director, Mr. Nonagen. And I know I always don't do a good job with Matt's name, but Mr. Director, are you here with us?
I am. I am
Okay.
not going to turn on my camera because I have a face for radio.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to thank you all for having me.
Is he on there still?
Muted, Mr. Matt.
Hey, Mr. Nonagen,
Let me try that again.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I have a very sensitive keyboard here.
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you again for inviting me to speak with you tonight. Good evening, Mayor Griswold and City Commissioners. I had an entirely different report prepared. As you can imagine, the whole world has changed for everyone, and I'm going to, I think, focus mostly on what we're doing in this current situation. Our goal is to provide the most service the safest way possible. The library is closed to public access until further notice. Every library in the county is doing the same, and I have not heard from any library in our part of the state, or really any library in Kansas, that is opening its doors right away. We plan to open a curbside service on Monday, May 11th. We will place items that patrons have put on reserve in their trunks or their back seats of their cars. For the present, reserves can only be placed on items from our collection, and this was something that our regional library decided to do because the transportation of materials from one library to another, from the hands of many, many different people in many, many different locations back and forth, represents an exposure risk. The curbside service will operate Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. till 7 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 11 to 5. The library staff will answer phone calls Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 4. We're going to close Sundays. We're spending this week training and preparing our staff for handling an entirely different and unusual way of library services. I met with city department heads, and a traffic control plan for the parking lot has been developed with the intent of moving cars in and out of the parking lot as efficiently as possible. To get to our front door, if we left all of the access points open and uncontrolled, there are 5 different ways that people could run into each other. So we're trying really hard to create a straight shot in from Pine to the front entrance where the pickup service will take place, a entrance off of Spruce that will lead to book drop. We've had an outdoor book drop at Dillon's for years. I'm having that moved here so that we can put it out in the parking lot. People can get to it directly from the driver's side of their automobiles, and then make an immediate right turn out onto Fifth Street. And I really appreciate Paul's very, very quick response to the plan. We were putting it together last week. I got it out to everyone this morning, and I got people from the city over here to help me get this all squared away and reviewed this afternoon. So thank you very much, Paul. Our book drop is open 24 hours a day, and I've been coming into the library to empty that on a daily basis since we closed. We haven't charged fines for over a year, so none of our patrons incur any cost of material that's returned late. And the regional library that manages the shared network set all the due dates into, I believe, May 18th. So even though a lot of people haven't been able to get out or have been concerned, we've been answering phone calls and handling email since we closed. There was quite a flurry at the beginning. What am I going to do about my books? When are they due? When are you going to reopen? That has really died down a lot. I think as most people have gotten their questions answered, we've directed them to our website. We've been using that on a regular basis to update people on the status of the library, the status of service, and how things are changing. We are allowing staff to work from home whenever possible. We're limiting exposure for staff in the library. Just started coming in Monday. We're managing our materials to prevent spreading any disease by contact. Anything that comes to the book drop goes on a cart. That cart gets rolled into a room. No one touches it. We have a 3-day rotation. So by the time anyone actually checks in or shelves a book, it's been isolated for 3 days. According to all the reports I've read, industry standards about materials, including plastics and paper, 3 days should do that. We're providing all staff in the building with personal protective equipment. We have masks and gloves, hand sanitizer, sanitizing spray for all workstations. We have a protocol. We check everyone's temperature when they come in. We allow time for cleaning workstations at the end of every shift. And we are absolutely ensuring social distancing so that nobody will work within a certain number of feet of another employee. We have set up different areas for people to eat lunches. We have set up different restrooms. Every place where people are going to touch surfaces, touch equipment, touch furniture, we have cleaning supplies and equipment in all of those locations. So any questions about how we're dealing with internal and I guess external basic services at this point?
When the members of your team, your employees, are inside the library, and that'll begin next week?
We have said people come in starting this week. They started Monday. We're training people this week in very small groups to tell them how we want workstations cleaned, how we want them to maintain their distance, how we want them to handle the curbside service, how we want to handle returns, material that's returned, and shelving. We're staggering everybody out. We're doing about 2 to 3 people per day. The admin team, myself, my assistant director, and my youth services librarian have been in here, will be here every day. I've been in here a lot, of course, because we can't abandon the book drop. If we don't empty that, it just jams up, and then people will either leave it on the street or take it home and wonder what to do with it. So I've been in here pulling the newspaper off the curb, emptying the book drop, watering the plants, following up on a lot of other things that are going on. I don't know how many Zoom meeting invitations I've received, but I feel like the belle of the ball here. Everybody wants me to go Zooming with them. So that's actually been pretty busy time, even though the library itself has not been closed.
So as you're going forward and your team, members of your team are working in the library, more than just you, will they be wearing masks?
Yes, I'm requiring everyone to wear a mask. I'm allowing them, if they have any that they've used or purchased for themselves, to use those. We have a supply of them here if they don't. We have 2 different types of gloves. I know some people are sensitive to vinyl, so we have the 2 different material. Gloves will be used at all times. Again, we've got hand sanitizers. We have spray sanitizer for work surfaces. And I have a couple of other things. Trying to get supplies in this situation has been difficult. I'm very glad that we were able to acquire this much. on time. I've ordered some of the shields that go down over your face too. Those have not arrived yet. That's really the last piece of equipment that would be nice to have when we do curbside service or when we do eventually open the building to the public in some limited fashion. And that's going to be a really, really tricky decision because of the nature of how people use libraries. They touch everything.
Yeah.
They touch books, they touch DVDs, they touch computers, they touch door handles. I mean, I guess I'm just trying to think how we can meet the stated requirement that you protect your staff by limiting exposure, but following around behind the number of people that use our building and all the things they touch, all the seats they use, all the books they take off and browse. How to get people out of the building in 10 minutes, in 20 minutes, in an hour, if these requirements are the only real way to get people in and out. I guess I'm not anticipating any particular trouble, but the headlines are full of places where there's been some serious confrontations when people have been asked to leave facilities or to abide by distancing or to wear a mask. I'm certainly not looking forward to that, and I hope it doesn't happen here. But the potential is there, and that's another big concern of mine. Digital content use, as you can imagine, we have really emphasized and grown the type of material that people can use without coming into the library. And of course, we set new records in April for Hoopla. We had 400 people borrow 1,933 items. That is an all-time high. The Sunflower Consortium, most of Sunflower uses audiobooks. That was again a record. We had 262 people use it in April and borrowed 1,507 items. Wow. We launched Canopy, and I think I've discussed this system with you before. It's an online movie streaming service, has about 33,000 different movies. And in the first month, we had 969 patrons visit the site, and they borrowed 229 items. So we add all this up together, that's an extraordinary number of uses of the library without physically getting your hands on a book. The book circulation, I've never seen this before in my life. I'm not even going to tell you what it was in March or April because it was so low. Of course, people couldn't access or borrow books. For our summer reading program, our youth services supervisor and marketing program coordinator have been testing various technology platforms to support online programs for summer reading. This will allow us to compensate for what are likely to be limits on the number of people that will be allowed in the facility in June and July, the limited number of people that will be allowed in group settings. It's tough to say. We have 150 kids at virtually every one of our kickoff and 50, 60 kids at a time. We know that simply won't work. So we're trying to provide an alternative to the programs that we have planned. And I always try to think positive. I think that we're acquiring learning about a form of technology we haven't used before, and so are many people in our community. And we're exploring how to leverage this new knowledge in the future. Every year we have a February. Every year it seems like it gets dark at 1:30 in the afternoon. We have programs scheduled, and we can get people to enjoy them online with Zoom and with this other technology that we're employing. I think that would be something that we can use all the time. For our technology, we are tech coordinator resigned, and we're not going to hire the position. We signed a contract with a company from St. Joe called Connard Technology. They're going to provide all of our network support. They're arriving tomorrow to install agent software on all the equipment in the library that will allow them to reach into our network to troubleshoot and fix it remotely. They got excellent reviews from various clients and customers in the area. We met with them. We interviewed 3 people. We were looking at either should we fill a position, should we go with the contract service? And the decision came out that I think it would be beneficial to have a contract service. You're not depending on one person to provide all the service. They've got a larger group of people who can bounce ideas off each other or represent different types of expertise and levels of knowledge for all the different things that we have. And their clients were just raved about them. They thought that they really provide an extraordinary service. There's a company over on the Missouri side that does nothing but have farmers come in with gigantic loads of corn. They weigh it, they get it on trains and ship it out. The contractor cut the data line between their scales and their office. Connor was out there in less than an hour, had restored, created an entirely new wireless network, reconnected their scales to their operating system, and had them up and running in less than an hour. So they're flexible technology. They're really knowledgeable, and I'm really looking forward to working with them.
Good.
Our program plans are pretty well set. Again, I think just as Sister Diane said, we're all tap dancing, waiting for different directives, different plans, different things to happen that may or may not determine when we let people in, how many we let in. I know the rate of infections in the county is still growing. That I think is a huge challenge for everybody when we think about the demand to open everything up and the need to protect. So we're looking at doing programs again online, and so all of our staff are playing with the new technology. Plan is to start practicing from the 11th to 15th, once we have the technology completely up and running. And then from May 18th, start doing daily story times at 10 a.m. online. And then on Wednesdays, we'll do lap sits for younger kids for about a 15-minute period. Again, all those would be online. We're communicated with, we had contracts in place with all kinds of people to come in and do all kinds of fun stuff for the kids for summer reading, and we're working with them also to provide that kind of program online. We're thinking of using Zoom so that people who want to come, anybody who wants to come to the program will email us, and then we can send them the invitation. They can click on that invitation, log in. We have a camera pointed out and the sound system going, and the entertainers and the storytellers and the other people can do their programs online for as many people. Our subscription you can have up to 300 people online at once at the same meeting. And I guess that's about all I have to say regarding we're kind of crossing our fingers that all of our plans will not blow up in our face on Monday, the 11th. The staff will get here at 9. Will give us some time to check in material, get things that are on reserve. We're trying to protect our people who perhaps have comorbidities associated with the virus to come in from 9 to 11 when the fewest number of people are in the building. There is no public exposure even through the front door. And then when we do open that front door, we will have those people go into the back room in other settings when other staff members arrive. So we're taking this pretty seriously. I don't think there's any reason not to, of course, but we want to make sure that our staff knows that we're doing our best to get the library back up and running the best way possible, provide the most service the safest way.
Very good report, Mr. Director. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions or comments for Mr. Nojinin? Mr. Nojinin, when is the next board meeting? Is it this Thursday or a week from Thursday?
The second Thursday of the month, so that would be, I believe, the 14th,
yes,
right?
It's the 14th, and I think the last board meeting was conducted via Zoom, correct? Or
it was tough to do. We did a phone call because some of our board members, the technology they had at home wouldn't support the Zoom platform. I have plans. I'm going to call my board president tomorrow so we can square away how to do the next one, because the agenda will have to be more ambitious. We have to elect officers and start talking about the 2021 budget and do some other things. But yes, it will take place for sure. What type of technology, whether people will Zoom, some might be able to do that, some might want to do phone. I was thinking we could meet in the parking lot like Mafia Dons and have all of our cars around and stay a few feet apart and have bodyguards and all that good stuff. But it's most likely going to be an online meeting for sure.
Sure.
And I know that we have 2 board members whose terms expire, and I know that you have, I believe, chosen one. I haven't heard that you had selected another candidate.
Yes, Miss Melissa Davis was approved last board meeting, so she should be present for the upcoming board meeting. And we have another candidate who's been nominated and who I will present to the commission for approval a week from today. So I think you should be full up by the time you have your, confident you'll be full up by the time you have your next board meeting.
By the next May meeting or the June meeting?
No, the May, because we are going to address the current person who's being considered for the second, for the second vacancy, and we'll take that up next Tuesday.
Okay, great. That if you could, I guess, just provide contact information for
Okay.
both of the new members, that way I can send them an agenda, give them a call, and to try to do some orientation with them before the meeting.
That's a good idea. We will do that. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Nonagen?
You could just call me Matt, that's easiest.
I have, yeah, it's a challenge, but thanks very much. And I'm impressed by your adaptation and your adjustments that you've had to make over the last month and a half, Matt. So it sounds like you've made those adjustments and you're continuing to move forward. And it sounds like you're all set, maybe with a few more things to accomplish, but thank you for your adaptation, and give our best to your team as they start up again.
I will do so. Thank you very much. And
Okay.
I don't know if anybody has made any comments. I know that we've had some emails and some phone calls about people. I know when the governor created the impression last Thursday that libraries are going to be open, as in open as a business as usual. And I
Right.
know that created some interest, and some people were surprised to learn, and a couple weren't happy to learn that we weren't going to be open in the fullest sense. So if anybody does have any questions, calls, or complaints or comments, please refer them to me. They can call or email me. I'll be glad to respond to any inquiries, field any complaints or questions that anybody from the public has about the way the library is phasing in our eventual and hopeful return to normalcy.
Okay. Very good. Any other further?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you for your report. Very informative, and have a good evening.
You too. Good night.
Good night. Next is the semi-annual report from the Executive Director of the Leavenworth County Development Corporation, Mr. Steve Jack. Are you there, Mr. Jack?
Excuse me, just when I unmuted. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes, we can.
All right, well, I did, even though I do have a face for radio, as Matt said, because I was in radio for 11 years, I've turned my camera on, but I'm assuming you want to see the PowerPoint, because I always do a PowerPoint, but I've got one tonight, and it might be easier to follow if we go through that. So, on slide 2, if you could move up to the second slide, the county unemployment rate map. And by the way, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for allowing us some time to talk about the economy and the businesses and our reaction to the COVID-19. Typically, I've started these presentations with the unemployment rate map. It looks a lot different than it has for over a decade. There was a time, I remember, when the unemployment rate in the city of Leavenworth was around 10% in 2009, 2010, a decade ago. But as a county, we were slightly under that, usually in the 7, 8, 9%. And then, of course, over time, through the last decade, that has lowered to around 3.94% prior to the recent events of this year. In the end of April, this is not official numbers, but projected numbers from the University of Kansas, based on official numbers from March 21 to April 25th. The unemployment rate in Leavenworth County was 10.7%. Some of our surrounding counties were a little bit higher than that. Wyandotte County, 13.3%, Johnson County, 10.8%, Douglas County, 14.8%, Jefferson was 11.5%, Atchison was a little bit under where we are at 9.9%. If you see some of that dark blue, and I know those numbers are a little hard to read perhaps on the screen, but Sedgwick County in south central Kansas, or Wichita, is 24.5% unemployment at the end of April. And Sumner County to the south of Wichita, 24.4%. and then Butler County 19.5. Wilson County is the other high unemployment area in southeast Kansas at over 23%. I think that we're slightly less than some counties because we have a lot of government, obviously here with the fort, the VA, the penitentiary, the prison in the county. And we also have some businesses that are essential, that are in the food industry or either food processing, like cereal ingredients, or food bags, food grade bags, Central Bag, Great Western manufactures equipment for the food processing industry. Heaters are being used in COVID-19 testing. And so we do have some businesses that have been operating through this time. So the next slide shows, though, the initial jobless claims by the county through April 25th. Sedgwick County in south central Kansas was the high. These are initial claims in a 4-week period, 62,757. Johnson County was next at 36,839. Wyandotte at 10,414. Douglas County, 9,896. Leavenworth County, the unemployment, and it matches similar to unemployment rate, 3,954. So I thought I'd kind of give you a sense for where we were compared to what we have typically talked about during these presentations. The next slide is kind of what we've been doing for the COVID-19 response. Right out of the chute, within the first couple of days, we had Candid Marketing, our marketing firm, put together a web page, and there is a URL I could send you to. The easiest one, though, with all the suffixes and stuff, is just to go to the LCDC homepage, which is lvcountyed.org, and then scroll down about a third of the way down the page, and there's a big box that says COVID-19 response. Click that, and it'll take you to a website where all the SBA programs, the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and EIDL program, for at least a few days, if not a week. The higher program was a $5 million program for hospitality industry, and that was a state program, Hospitality Relief Emergency Loan. That ran out of money pretty quickly, but I believe there were some Leavenworth businesses that received higher grants. As the stay-at-home orders were being released and changed, those went up on the web page. Workforce safety guidance, webinar opportunities, and we have updated this for more than 6 weeks, once or one or 1 or 2 days. Usually a couple of days may go past, and then we'll get new information about programs. And so we've tried to keep that page where the latest information as it regards not the health situation, which is really the county's responsibility, but rather the business community, programs of interest, and then guidance. So in addition to that, within the first week of this kind of pullback, and I would say what we did on staff, I've heard Sister Diane and Matt talk about staff. Lisa and I can work from home remotely, although I think Lisa had to upgrade her internet, but she's doing a good job of reaching out to businesses, the business community. The three of our staff talk either daily or once a week. We have a staff meeting. We had a Zoom staff meeting this afternoon. But early on, Secretary Toland of the Kansas Department of Commerce was interested in reaching out to the business community in Leavenworth County and offered to do a webinar. And we invited everybody we could think of that might be interested, about 280 people, and we got 70, which I thought was outstanding. I think Emporia, Emporia, Manhattan, Lawrence, and Topeka, the metal group, had about 135, and we might have been the second largest webinar. And part of that is people know David because he spent a day with us a year ago. But anyway, he gave us good information at the beginning of this process. We've sent out our quarterly LCDC newsletter. We have included COVID-19 information in that. We've been emailing, making phone calls to local businesses. We tried to stay out of their hair as much as possible, but let the business community know how important they are to us, and if we can answer any questions or provide any assistance, that's what we've been offering them. And we participated in a Kansas City Chamber, KCADC, MARC, Civic Council, a bunch of different groups, KC SourceLink, business survey. They did one, and I don't know too much about the results of that. I don't believe we were given an opportunity, our businesses, to participate. But on this second one, we were. And so we sent that out again to over 250 employers in the county. And there were, at least metro-wide, 565 employers that responded throughout the Kansas City area. So a good sample. And the mayor this afternoon sent me an email and asking if I would share some of the key takeaways about the report. And I didn't prepare anything for a slide, but I can tell you that at some point, please go to the lvcountyed.org or LCDC homepage, click on our COVID-19 page, and it will take you to one of the bullet points, maybe one of the last bullet points, I believe, on that page, are the results of this COVID-19 business survey. So 58% of the businesses that responded expect demand for products and services to be back in February 2020 levels in 6 months, so almost 60%. 70% expect to retain 75 to 100% of their workforce, but only half of the minority-owned businesses expect to retain 75 to 100% of their workforce. 96% of the respondents were aware, and this shocked me, pleasingly though, 96% of the respondents were aware of the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and or the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, the EIDL. Those were the two big SBA programs, one a legacy program, EIDL, and one a brand new program, this PPP, and 96% of the respondents were aware of them. And I'll talk about our own experience in just a moment. So when businesses reopen, the top priorities, according to the study, were maintaining the health of the workforce, number one, number two, financial assistance, and number three, tax incentives. Companies with fewer than 5 employees, their priorities were similar, funding assistance, but also paying the rent. So small employers, less than 5 employees, it's just paying that monthly mortgage. Since March, 26.4% have laid off employees. 23.5% of the businesses closed their business temporarily. The good news, those are not great numbers though, but the good news is 0.5% closed businesses permanently. So if we can get through the next few weeks and months, many of these businesses should come back. Now, one of the final comments I wanted to make, or observations, was to the question, how soon do you expect demand for your product or service to return to or near February 2020 levels. And 31%, 31.3% said 0 to 3 months, pretty quickly. 27.1% said 4 to 6 months. So that's where that 58% figure we started off with, expect the demand for products and services to be back to the February levels. 13.6% said 7 to 9 months, 13% said 10 to 12 months, and 10% said a year or more. Demand is up from February, and I expect continued growth, was the response of nearly 5%. So there are some companies, particularly those in food and those that are manufacturing products for this time, those folks are actually growing. So there are some winners out of this tragic situation. Now, not on the survey, but in talking with our banks, the PPP applications are slowing considerably. The second round of PPP funding has gone to businesses for which the regulations for the first round were not clear. So this round has assisted more sole proprietorships and the smallest of the businesses like beauticians, barbers, nail technicians, and realtors. Businesses in which the owner is not employed and or do not employ people are receiving money in this second round. Funding is still available, by the way. Just a few days ago, there was still $100 billion left, but that may possibly run out sometime before the end of the week. So we have heard from a couple of different sources that there is still money, and but there may not be in a week. One of our banks in the southern part of the county that also serves 3 adjacent counties, it was a little hard to disaggregate that, approved 170 loans for $12.6 million in round 1 and 98 loans so far in round 2 at $2.4 million for a total of 268 loans at just under $15 million. But a large Kansas City bank with a branch in Leavenworth told us that system-wide in the metro area where all these banks are located, after round 1, the bank had made loans of $200 million system-wide again. And the PPP is forgivable if you follow certain standards, and that is to primarily after 8 weeks to either hire folks back or to have never laid those people off. So it's supposed to be a job retention tool. So, Mayor, I hope that was sufficient.
Yes.
As a response to your inquiry, which was a great one about what are the results and what's the business community thinking.
No, those are really good insights. And I'd gotten a little feedback about 2 weeks ago on the first round, but I hadn't had a chance to reach out to any of the bank officials. But I really appreciate you doing that, and that's exactly what I wanted to get a feel for, and I appreciate that, and we appreciate it.
Okay. On the next slide, these are active recruitment projects. We had one that I'll talk about in just a moment that looked like and really has taken a back seat to the COVID-19, but there are actually some projects out there. Project Badge is it's going to be a long-term kind of project. It's not something that's going to happen in the next 6 months, but it's something that we are responding to the Kansas Department of Commerce. It would be a government-owned, private sector-operated project looking for 500 acres, 450 to 550 acres. So much bigger than our 80-acre park in Leavenworth. So we are reviewing options throughout the county for assembling properties in different parts of the county as a response to this Project Badge. And that's about all I can say on the project at this time. Project Roscoe, this came to us from CBiz, and the Department of Commerce, Kansas Department of Commerce also has a rep on the project. It's a biopharma company. They're looking for a 50,000 square foot building, which we don't have, but we do have a 10-acre site. It would be 45 jobs at an average wage of $75,000 a year. I submitted flyers, maps, and incentive letters from the Tonganoxie Business Park and then the new Leavenworth Business and Technology Park. So I appreciate Paul's work on that and Taylor's work on that with us. That just went out just a few days ago to CBiz. I believe it was due on Friday. Project Brown is a KCADC project. They were looking for a large building or 30 to 40 acres. It's food related, but it's probably, we think, possibly a bakery. We submitted flyers for both Leavenworth and the Tonganoxie parks. On the next page, we've got three more projects. Project Franklin is a project that, and I wrote 100 acres. Well, there's one extra zero in that. It's 10 acres that they were looking for, not 100, to build an 80 to 100,000 square foot facility. We've been working with the company along with Paul and Taylor during much of 2019. We met with the firm in late February. Then COVID-19 hit in March, and that is delaying the project. Project Polaris is a KCADC project. It's a build-to-suit, 350 to 400,000 square foot building. They actually targeted Leavenworth, plus 13 other cities. They picked the cities, and so we didn't have an opportunity for any other sites in the county. So Leavenworth was one that they were interested in, and after we had submitted, they asked for information on water and sewer. So we asked Joel at the water department and Paul and Taylor for the sewer information and sent that on to KCADC. And then Project Harvey is a project, they needed 10 plus acres or 120,000 square foot facility. I sent flyers on the new Tongi and Leavenworth parks, and just this update we received this week. I thought it was still alive, but apparently not. They have been notified, KCADC, by the lead broker for the project that it is dead due to the client not landing the contract they needed to trigger the expansion. The email from Ellie Bowen said, we'll be sure to reach out should anything change down the road, but this time we have marked the project closed. So just wanted to update that. Next page shows 30 leads, which is interestingly enough about the halfway point for the entire year of 2019 last year. And they have been balanced between Commerce. We've had 8 projects from Commerce, 9 from LCDC, and then 13 from KCADC. Out of the 30 leads, 15 are projects that we could submit something for. We had 2 visits in a couple locations. Locations in 2020 include Mutual Savings Association branch bank in Lansing. About 4.5 years ago, we worked with Josh Hoppus in finding him a 1-acre site, giving him options at least. And then it took about 4 years for them to narrow it down and to work with their engineering staff on a branch from the Leavenworth-based Mutual Savings Association. And then Wilson Glass. We sold a lot in Urban Hess, a little 1.5 acre parcel, and Wilson Glass will be building a 5,000 square foot building and bringing about 4 jobs initially from St. Joe, increasing to 10. The next slide shows new signage at Gary Carlson Park. If it looks familiar, it's because we copied your city signage, which is a beautiful sign at the Leavenworth Business and Technology Park. This is about 2/3 the size of the one in the new park. We thought it would look good and kind of tie the 2 parks together if we had some similar signage, and so that signage is now lit. Although I'm not sure I've been by at night to see it lit, but we're excited about the signage, and we got a pretty good deal, and the Port Authority paid for that sign. So that's something that if you haven't seen it, you should drive by Eisenhower and take a look. On the next page, the Leavenworth County Labor Study is about ready. It's a regional labor study that focuses on the county. And the next page, I've got 3 pages I'll go through real quick. The next page shows the Leavenworth County inflow and outflow. This is pretty interesting graphic that we have close to 10,000 people that live here in Leavenworth County, 9,965, that go to work every day for a business or government or employer based in Leavenworth. We have 7,829 who come from outside the county for jobs here. We have 21,338 though that leave for jobs in Olathe or Plant City or Kansas City, Missouri, or Lawrence in Douglas County. The study comments that you would think that would be a negative for us, but in fact it may be a positive because we would argue that we have 21,000 people that if we could create some jobs and companies could bring jobs here, might be appealing to somebody living in Leavenworth rather than driving to downtown Kansas City, Missouri. So there'll be information like that. And then on the next page, what's really exciting and a little different than our former 2015 Docking Institute, what we did was we took a look at not only the county at a certain, the 30,000 foot level in terms of available labor and the labor shed, but also the individual labor sheds of the business parks. So we centered Leavenworth at the Leavenworth Business and Technology Park. So any information about the labor shed, and if you turn the page one more time to the Leavenworth County Labor Study, that information there is specific to a center point at 14th Street and Eisenhower. So the difference between the population, the labor force in Tonganoxie, Basehor, Lansing, and Leavenworth isn't extremely significant, but it does change things. The number of available people to go to work, as well as what an employer would need to pay them. And so there are all sorts of different layers to this. What I thought after I saw the Marks Nelson report was that we probably needed to beef up the executive summary so that if I'm reading that executive summary, pretty quickly I can tell the story inside, because I believe this document's about 90 pages, 100 pages long. And if you don't get them in the first couple of pages, then they may not go deeper than that. Now, a site location consultant is going to go as deep because they read these things all the time. But we really want people to know pretty quickly the story of and the strengths of Leavenworth County. So anyway, we're working with Marks Nelson. They did a great job. We appreciate the contribution that the city made in co-funding it. We got $1,000 from each of the 3 communities. We got $2,500 from the city of Leavenworth, and we got over $10,000, which was 50% of the cost, from Evergy, which is a great partner to have, and it's something that Westar just didn't have the capabilities of doing, and now this larger company, the combined Westar and KCPL, gives us some opportunities that we didn't have before. And then finally, on the last page, or next to last page, the 2020 marketing meetings, tours, and events, the pre-pandemic meetings. Things seem to be a little slow in October, November, December. I reported that to the board. I didn't quite understand the ebb and tide of the flow of prospect activity. But because of some marketing, we had companies like Van Trust and EPC Real Estate and BTC Construction, LS Commercial, McCown Gordon Construction. So some construction companies and development companies that we had meetings with. And the follow-up meetings were going to happen in, say, March and April. And we did have, Paul and I did have a meeting, I think Taylor was involved, with EPC Real Estate via Zoom. So we're trying to do some of it with Zoom, and some of it we're just waiting till it gets a little safer to meet. Now, I do have a meeting with CBRE to do site tours. Austin Beyer, who was was on the panel at our annual meeting in January. That was to have taken place in April, then got postponed to May and is rescheduled to June 5th. We've got the Team Kansas Dallas Site Consultant Concert that we had signed up for in June. That's been postponed. There are a variety of other events you can see on this slide that have either been rescheduled or postponed. I don't know whether Austin is going to come on June 5th or whether we're going to want him to come yet. We just don't know. We're playing it like the library, like Sister Diane at the university, and I'm sure like the city, we're just kind of seeing how things unfold and listening to the county health director and we will have activity. We will have activity whether we're working from home, doing Zoom, but at some point we need to get boots on the ground, people to see the parks and face-to-face meetings. So anyway, so that's my presentation. I appreciate your patience in going through those slides, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from my fellow commissioners for Mr. Jack?
Steve, just a comment. This is Commissioner Bowder. I appreciate your unemployment statistics. That helps our organizations when we apply for grants and that sort of thing. We've been using those. So I appreciate you sending that out. It's really, it shows a striking what our community is going through right now. Thank you.
Sure. And I think I have some updated information from Workforce Partnership on unemployment claims that I'll get out. I've been doing really good in the first 3 weeks of that, and then I'm not sure I sent last week's, and I've got that I can send out again. I'll just continue to send that out to the group.
Thank you.
Any other comments from any of my fellow commissioners for Mr. Jack? Mr. Jack, I was pleasantly surprised but very encouraged by the work that continues to take place with respect to the active recruitment projects, particularly with what's happened to the economy over the last couple of months. So that's very encouraging, and I and we as a commission appreciate the update and the continued work on those projects. And that is very interesting about that Leavenworth County labor study. When was that study conducted and when was it finished?
It was finished, they used secondary data. Mm-hmm. It's a variety of different sources. They didn't do a primary surveying like the Docking Institute. The Marks Nelson report appealed to us because we could get this information within a month or two rather than in 6 or 7 months to wait till we did a survey. And Marks Nelson does this around the country for projects, development projects that they're involved in. So it's in the style that a site location consultant would understand and appreciate. So it was delivered to me about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I went through all 100 pages and found some things not substantive things I want to change, but rather some stylistic things. And then particularly the executive summary that I thought should be a little clearer. And so this week, they're supposed to be working on that. When that's done, all those people like Ben Trust at EPC and all the developers and others who've expressed interest in the county will be receiving a copy of that. It'll go on our website. Some of the site location consultants that we met, I didn't even mention, we attended March 9th, 10th, and 11th, just under the wire. We were in Atlanta at a Site Selectors Guild conference with about 50 of the top site selectors in the country. And not only the country, but the world, although those that were international couldn't get there. There was a lot of Purell and hand sanitizer and bumping of elbows. And of course, that escalated the week we got back. But anyway, so several of those folks expressed interest in the labor study. And so those folks will also be receiving copies.
Yeah, and well, I have got a question, but my last comment is that it is a very, very good web page that you've put together for the COVID-19, what's happening economically as a result of the health crisis, and I've been to it. It's very well organized and very valuable information. And I think, it's played a real good role, as has the Leavenworth Main Street organization, in terms of getting information out to our small business owners so they could take advantage of these various loan programs. And anecdotally, I think our small businesses have done pretty well as far as applying for those loans and getting those loans, working with the banks. And the banks have really done a good job working with one another, with their clients, but also locally and regionally, from what I can determine. They were really leaning forward in the foxhole to help our small business owners. I don't know if that's the feedback or the vibe that you've gotten, but that's what I've gotten in terms of calling around a little bit.
Yep.
Finally, generally, I know you're not looking at their balance sheet or anything, or their income statement, but in terms of some of the bigger manufacturers, cereal ingredients, Great Western Manufacturing, has their business, been affected by what's been happening the last 2 months or so, do you think, or?
Well, I would say there's a couple. Heatron, I believe, has some folks who are not going to work every day.
Okay.
Some of that is social distancing, and some of it is the product that they're making, because they make a variety of different kinds of heating elements. Those that are using the COVID-19 are considered essential, and so those employees are considered essential, and I believe those are the folks that are going to work every day. So I believe that there are some businesses who may not be having everybody come into the office. Okay. It's my understanding that Hallmark is furloughed those folks, and that they are temporarily not working. But companies like Cereal Ingredients actually are hiring. Their business, they're manufacturing food products, and people are sitting at home. I know I'm eating 3 meals a day. I used to eat 1 or 2. And so the cinnamon swirl bread that I had this morning comes from Leavenworth, Kansas. And so they're actually looking for employees. So.
That's interesting. Good. Okay, well, that's an interesting insight. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Jack? If not, I'll thank you again, and my best to your team members, your other team members, and wishing them well, and appreciate you coming here this evening and updating us on Leavenworth County Development Corporation. And
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Appreciate it, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the week. So I think that's the last subject for the study session. So we're going to go around the horn as we normally do. We'll start off with Mr. Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to give a quick update on some city functions and facilities. As everybody may be aware of at this point, the Brush Side and Recycling Center did open last week on a limited basis, and we're carrying that same schedule this week and will do for the next couple weeks as we monitor the governor's executive order. Last week, we had 347 cars go through the recycling center. There were some long wait times early in the week. We hope that that starts to lessen as the time goes by. And the Brush Side is, for the time being, free for residential users. So once again, the recycling is on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and the Brush Side is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we will have brush disposal this Saturday out at the brush disposal site. Check the city's website for times on those. Tomorrow we announced today on the city's Facebook page, but tomorrow at noon, the dog park will reopen. We're comfortable with the social distancing. There'll be some additional signage out there, and we'll have city staff, police or parks kind of go through the park every once in a while to make sure everybody's in compliance with all the rules. If you follow the Leavenworth Farmers Market on Facebook or the city on Facebook, you'll have seen that when we were able to come to an arrangement with the farmers market to replicate some of the activities that are taking place in cities like Parkville and Overland Park, where we're going to have a drive-through farmers market, and the first one will be this Saturday from 7:30, starting at 7:30 at Haymarket Square. Cars will enter heading north off 7th Street and enter into the west side of Haymarket Square, do a loop around the outside of the pavilion and exit heading north. I think there's some information on the farmers market website about contacting some vendors, ordering ahead, and I suggest that you reach out to the farmers market organizers to do that, and we're looking forward to it. I think there's going to be some good weather on Saturday for that. The campground is the next city facility or the city operation that we're going to open. It's going to open in phases. The first phase will be for campers or equipment that has its own internal plumbing, self-contained, and that will be starting this Friday. So if you just have a tent or you have something that does not have restroom facilities, at this point you will not be able to rent a campsite, and that deals with our ability to ensure that our restrooms are cleaned and safe for those who use that. So we'll evaluate a larger opening of the campground as we move through the phases of the governor's reopening plan. But starting this Friday, if you have equipment that has a self-contained, your own restroom facility, you will be able to rent a campground space. The two other things that we are asked about quite a bit right now are, first of all, the city pool. 20 days from today will be May 25th, which is the date that the pool would traditionally open. We still have not made a decision. We are in the same position as just about every other pool in the metropolitan area. There are a couple cities this week that have announced closures. Prairie Village and Roland Park have closed. Independence, Missouri had already closed. Most of the Johnson County cities are still waiting. I talked to Tonganoxie City Administrator today, and they are also holding. Everybody kind of wants to see what happens as we go into the additional phases of the governor's executive order. At some point, we'll have to make a decision. The pool does have the ability to open later in the year, although the pool season's not that long, so if you wait too long, then it may not be worth it. So for any questions about the pool, we're working with the state, public health officials in the metropolitan area to see what the best course of action is on the pool. And then finally, trash bags. The Lions Club is going to start delivering trash bags on May 30th. They're going to split it up into 2 different Saturdays because of the sheer number that they have to deliver. And the struggle right now to get a little bit of labor. So that'll be May 30th and June 6th to finish up the trash bag delivery. So that's all I have on city.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. So we'll go around the horn with the commissioners, and we'll start with Commissioner Wilson.
No, sir, I have nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Leonhard?
Yes, I have 4 items. I'll be quick. I know it's only been 2 days, but I reached out to a few of the small businesses today, and they're getting foot traffic. They seemed pretty upbeat, and of course they're following the guidelines. So I encourage people and thank to everyone for supporting local businesses and restaurants. And also, just a shout out to congratulations on his promotion to Mr. Mike Whitecotton.
Oh, yeah.
He is now serving as deputy to the garrison commander for USAG Fort Leavenworth. He got that promotion back March 15th, but of course, it was like just in time for the COVID-19 crisis.
Good point.
So congratulations to him. And then this Sunday, I know it's only Tuesday, but Sunday will have passed at our next meeting. So this Sunday's May 10th. And it'll be Mother's Day. I know I didn't want to crack up, but I just want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there. And to my mother, Jeanette Allison. Thank you for being an inspiration to me, and I love you so much. So thanks for that.
Very good.
And then one last thing, so I can see here. In conclusion, I'd like to read an inspirational maxim by writer William Arthur Ward. The adventure of life is to learn. The purpose of life is to grow. The nature of life is to change. The challenge of life is to overcome. The essence of life is to care. The opportunity of life is to serve. The secret of life is to dare. The spice of life is to befriend. The beauty of life is to give. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Leonhard. Very inspirational and apropos comments at this point in the year 2020. So thank you very much. Commissioner Preisinger.
As with Commissioner Leonard, I want to wish all the mothers in Leavenworth a happy Mother's Day coming up this Mother's Day. Probably will not be the same as most other Mother's Days, but hopefully everyone can make the best of it and reach out to your mothers and let them know how much you love them. I'm glad to hear about the dog park reopening, farmers market, recycling. We're coming back to some sense of normalcy. There are going to be, we all have to give a little bit in this, but we're trying to bring things back to some sense of normalcy. I do plead with the citizens to be patient and also be careful, be sensitive to other people, wash your hands. I sure recommend that people wear a face mask in any public gathering as much as possible. Respect those that do them, and it's just a good practice for this, hopefully the short term, but this virus is with us. Hopefully we can get it contained, but let's be careful, let's be smart, and let's get through this. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Preisinger. Mayor Pro Tem Bowder.
Hi, thank you, Kamala, for the wishes, Mother's Day wishes. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. I just want to say something about the farmers market. If you go to the farmers market website, which you can, if you just Google it and it'll come up for Leavenworth Farmers Market, you can get to every one of the vendors, and each one of them lists the products that they have. And if you know that you've shopped there before, there's something you want to buy, I went ahead and ordered online. Sent their emails, contacts are on there, so I sent emails and asked them if they had certain things, and you can get that ready before Saturday. So I think that would help move things along if people would do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bowder. I've got some sad news that I just wanted to briefly let our citizens know about. Some probably know about it already, but I believe it was about 3 a.m. on Sunday, early Sunday morning, which would have been the 3rd of May. We had a fire within the city, 916 Cherokee. The fire department responded professionally as they always do and got the fire out, but unfortunately there was one of the occupants, one of our citizens in the house who lost her life. And I believe has her name come out, do you know, is there any problem with?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, this particular person, and next week maybe I'll mention her name, but I do want to, for her families, the condolences from myself and the rest of the commission on her passing. She had a brother who was in the house who was able to get out, but we want to acknowledge that this lady did unfortunately pass away, and next week I'll be able to share her name, but we do send our condolences to her family, in particular her brother, and we'll just have to go on. It probably was reported in the Leavenworth Times today, but I haven't had a chance to look at the paper, so that unfortunately happened early Sunday morning. The next is National Teacher Appreciation Week, is the week of 3 through 9 May, and today is actual National Teacher Appreciation Day. So the commission, myself as the mayor, and my fellow commissioners, I'm sure, extend our best wishes and thanks to our teachers. We've got 2 districts within the city geographically. Of course, USD 453 Leavenworth Public School District and USD 207 Fort Leavenworth Public School District. So for those teachers in those 2 districts, particularly over the last 2 months, they've gone above and beyond in terms of making the adjustments for delivering their instruction online, and have done a great job. I know they have. They've learned from, what was first put out to the students, and they're doing, they're just learning each and every day. And I'd also like to thank the moms of the students out there, who I know probably have a better appreciation now for all the hard work that teachers do on a day-to-day basis within the classrooms, within our various schools, within the community. It's tough work, but I appreciate the moms out there helping their kids, particularly the younger children, with their studies. And I think also there's some people who homeschool, and I also need to remember, I think it's St. Xavier, the Catholic elementary school. So all the teachers within the city of Leavenworth, thank you for what you do and for your contributions to the growth of our children. And finally, we have a Facebook Live Town Hall tomorrow at 11 a.m. I believe it'll be the 8th Facebook Live Town Hall, so I think it's been a good way to get information out to our citizens. And if citizens are watching tonight, tune in, have some questions ready. The questions have dropped off, but that's really why we have them. So we do put out information, but I'd love to hear what's on your mind, and if you do have questions about what the city and how the city's adapting and adjusting, or anything else that you'd like to ask me as the mayor and the city manager. So is there anything else this evening? If not, that concludes our study session. So we are finished for tonight.